as we finish our prep here, for those who are on the live stream, please make sure to type who you are in the chat so we know who's attending online. Also, for everyone in the room, I'll have a cordless microphone for any congregational questions so that everyone, including those on the live stream, can hear. Also, there's up to a 1-minute delay between the time we actually say something in here and the time people hear it on the live stream. So as we're voting and or calling for questions and all of that, we'll need to keep that in mind. I'll be monitoring the chat back here.
Welcome, congregation. This is our yearly event, and I would like to, I'm going to have Jan's help here to introduce the council members who are here, and for those who are on the live stream, council members, guess what? You have to wave so they can see you.
Just have you raise your hand as I call your name. On the far end, Dean Dalen. And Dee Wollenseen. And Wenda Sang. Gary Hintz. Penny Harder. Leanne Lund. And I'm Jan Martin.
I want to say thank you to all of the council members. You worked together so very well, and you brought your information for your committees, and I really appreciate how everything came together for us. Today, Dean Dalen and Dee Wollenseen finish their council terms, and we'll miss you too. And council members, please note immediately following the annual meeting, we will have our organizational meeting right here. Please pray with me. Compassionate God, teach us always to be more like you. Deepen our trust so that we can focus more fully on you. Bless us now as we begin this meeting. Keep us respectful, honest, and helpful to one another as we make decisions on this congregation's behalf. Guide those who will be elected to serve as leaders in this congregation and those who will be voting members at Synod Assembly. Be present with us now and keep us ever faithful in service to you and to all you have made. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda, the meeting agenda?
I make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second? in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We will hear the meeting minutes from last year's meeting. You can find them on pages 2 and 3. Leanne, is there anything you wish to highlight? Are there any questions concerning the minutes? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as printed? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The church statistics are on page 4. We have the report from the nominating committee.
Terry, can you speak up?
Sure.
We can't hear you back there.
Okay. You have them before you, then we will listen to them as well.
These are listed on the back page of your agenda. For the church council, 4 to be elected, 2 3-year terms. Jan Anderson, Morley Gunderson, Angie Westling, and Tony McLean. For the Financial Oversight Committee, 1 to be elected, that's Dale Dillon. And the nominating committee is 4 to be elected for a 1-year term. Megan Eichmann, Christy Huseth, David M. Ulrich, and Dee Wollenseen is the outgoing member of that committee. Delegates to the Synod Assembly on Saturday, May 21st at Concordia College. Al Johnson, Phyllis Johnson, the new council president and a council representative. Mission Endowment Foundation, 2 to be elected for a 3-year term, Jan Anderson and Darlene Kelly. That would complete the list of candidates. Kate and Corey Anderson will be collecting the ballots.
For those who are on the live stream, we'll push the ballot out once it is time to vote on the budget so that all of our questions for the live stream voters are in one Google form.
Do I have any nominations from the floor? For council members, first of all. Do I have motion, do I have nominations from the floor? Do I have nominations from the floor? I so move. Seeing none? Okay. Nominations cease. Thank you. All signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The ballots have been collected. Now we will return to our review of reports. You have them all before you. I will say them individually. We'll look at the church statistics on page 4 briefly. Any questions? Treasurer's report on page 5.
All right, page 5. I'll just kind of quickly go over this. I won't read it to you. First of all, I want to say thank you for the way the congregation stepped up as far as the roof cost. The goal was to raise about half of what the roof cost was, and we raised just a little bit over that. So thank you. So capital improvement didn't take the whole hit, so that was good. Appreciate it. As far as the monthly financials, if you look on page 5, kind of in the bottom right-hand corner, we came out in the black, $1,999.14. So, woo, here you go, Dave. There were 2 transfers that we took from, in the Edward Jones, we were given an estate, and there was a little bit of liquid cash in there meant for use when we needed it during the year. We transferred $17,400 from that. So we did have to transfer a little bit, but we didn't have to take from any other form of savings throughout the year to meet our monthly obligations. So that was good. And we paid the synod obligations were met, and Pathways benevolence was met as well. So overall, very good. Nice bounce back from 2020, I would say. Well, that's kind of the highlights of it. I don't want to belabor it too much. There's a couple projects property committee has coming up in 2022. Those are in the 2022 budget, and we can discuss those when we get to the budget. Those are the highlights from Treasurer's report.
Questions for Mara? Thank you. Financial oversight. Pages 6 and 7.
My bad.
How I get my steps
He's
in.
getting his steps.
Yeah, right. Hope you have your Fitbit.
Just quickly on this, it's there for you to read. Nothing earth-shattering. There were no big procedural changes, nothing in 2021 as far as how things are done procedurally, as far as deposits, bank runs, checks. And due to schedules and life, the committee couldn't actually physically meet, so we emailed back and forth for about 3 weeks, and this report is what came out of it. So I want to thank the Financial Oversight Committee for dealing with me in my email conversations, but even though we weren't able to meet, they were comfortable, so.
My report is on page 8 and 9, and it's there before you. We may try to do sponsor a blood drive again. Thanks to everyone who helped with that, and thanks to everyone who gave to the Synod for their project after Synod Assembly to help our brothers and sisters in our companion synod, the Andra Synod, and also folks along the border who were devastated by floods. Mission endowments, page 10. Questions for the committee? Oh, and look at all the pictures, 11 to 16. Faith and Family Stewardship Report, page 17. Any highlights you wish to?
Not a highlight, but, there's one up by Jan.
Yes, I should have got all there. Not necessarily a highlight, you can read the report, but down toward the bottom of the page, it says that we had 26 estimated giving cards with a total of $82,216, but only 19 time and talent sheets returned. We really need those time and talent sheets returned. We need, right now, communion servers. More could be added to the reader list for sure. So if you haven't completed one of them, please do so. Thank you. We had a good response to our fall drive, which was Celebrate Generosity, and I think we'll keep that theme going for a while. I really like the message in that program. Thank you.
Questions? Altar Guild. The Altar Guild has two pieces. There's a report and then also a financial report. Report on page 18 and the financial report on page 19. Do you wish to make another plea for helpers?
Reed did a good job of that.
That's very true.
But there are a few other little things listed there. I said there are a few other little things listed there. I mean, even like baptism napkins, you know, we make those. I mean, we even have help with something like that that can be done at home. So and delivering altar flowers if somebody's going to be visiting somebody that they know that week. You know, we don't always know those that are shut in or maybe hospitalized each week, so any help in that manner would be useful, so. And then, like Reed mentioned, we're gonna have a training on the 27th if there's somebody that's interested in learning a few things. So, thank you.
Questions for Fothergill? And maybe please keep a bulletin for a little while to adjust to the communion schedule starting in February. Personnel Committee report on page 20.
Just wanted to comment that since I listed my phone number there, it should be 0297, not 4074 on the cell. The home one is correct.
Can you say that again, Myra? The last four digits?
0297.
Questions for Myra? Evangelism, Social Ministry, page 21.
The Evangelism and Social Ministry. The Evangelism and Social Ministry Committee.
No, it's on, but.
I think I did.
Hello, hello?
Jan has one. Your husband.
The Evangelism Social Ministry Committee would just really like to thank the congregation for their generosity and for participation. We are looking to change up or boost our Good Gifts program next winter. When Madison was here, we tried to do a barnyard blitz where animals would be delivered to your yard, and you'd have to pay to get rid of them. So we would like to kind of bring that back, and we are looking for someone in the congregation who we would buy the wood, but someone who could do just like an silhouette cutting of some of the animals, and then we would paint them this summer sometime. So any of you have like a jigsaw or a handy wood-wise and would like to help us out on that, that would be great. And I'm just gonna step ahead. Does anyone have any questions for the Evangelism Social Ministry? Otherwise, I'm gonna just jump to the Elca, the women of the ELCA. And there's been some discussion that the 3 ranges that are in the kitchen are sort of, giving up. And if we do have funds in our account that we could replace those, but if you have feelings about one way or the other, whether we should, shouldn't, if you could let either me or Phyllis Johnson know what you think, because that might be something we could look for. Appliances are not real easy to get right now, so if we were going to replace them, we'd like to maybe order something and get them in the next 6 months before these totally give it up. So just anything that you have, an opinion that you have, please feel free to let one of us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Deidre. Worship and Music Committee, page 23.
Tom did a very nice job summarizing.
No questions? Faith Formation, page 24.
All right, well, for faith formation, something to note, we've been grateful to be back in person with our blast and confirmation programs this year, and while our numbers are not exactly where we'd love them to be, we are again back in person, and we've got a great group of families that have been attending, and we have super confirmation teachers that have stepped up this year as well, so our confirmation groups have been meeting each week and joining together, so that's been a great thing this year to be back. I don't think there's any other big things. Any questions? Thank you.
Property Committee, page 25 and 26.
It should be noted on item 2 that it was a family affair with both Barry and Susan Freuler significantly helping with the projects in the library and the music office.
Just to clarify, when it said, I think the word is probably to be overseen, to replace overlooked. That just might clarify things just a little bit. It's sometimes whatever the word is, it disappears.
On item 13, about snow removal.
Any questions for Property Committee?
I have a question. Would we save on our insurance costs if we did add fire alarms or smoke detectors?
any insurance people in the audience that could enlighten us? I'm not sure everyone was aware that we didn't have any smoke detectors or fire extinguishers. Oh, we have fire extinguishers. I was going to say we have to have fire extinguishers. Smoke alarms we don't have. We'll have to do a little investigating on that.
Most likely, we'd have to put in a system similar to what you would find in a school or other commercial building with automatic everything with a facility this size. So it's not as simple as going to Sam's Club, buying detectors and putting them up.
Other questions? Synod information, page 27, and there's a letter from the bishop. Part of the letter is missing, but there are copies if you want of that letter, if you want to look at the missing page. And then there are financial pages. I hope that you read those so that you know what's happening.
According to the agenda, there's a time for questions.
Yep, we're going to go right there. Yep, we'll go to it right now. Questions and concerns by the congregation. We're ready.
I didn't understand.
No, I just didn't flip pages. Questions and concerns by the congregation.
I'm just wondering what the status is on the search for a new pastor.
I'll comment on that. We've been given two names so far. We did interview the first name that we had. That individual appeared to us to be a really good fit. Unfortunately, before we could even put the paperwork together to make the call, that individual removed their name from consideration. A family medical situation arose, and they had to withdraw at this time. We did get another name then. The call committee met, looked over all of the information about that candidate, decided that was not a good fit. So we chose not to pursue that individual. Now we're waiting for another. We understand that there may be another name in the Beltway. We'll consider that when we get that name. So far, that's where we at. We did the call committee discussed at length this candidate. We decided we're not going to settle for whoever comes along. we really feel that we have competent pulpit supply, we're being well taken care of, and we should consider each candidate of a name that we get, and not just grab one for the sake of having a pastor. Yeah, it's just too important for us to do that. So, and we'll get one. We absolutely will.
Thank you.
Dave?
Can you share with us the availability, Jan? Does it look like the field is slightly populated, heavily populated with our options, or where are you getting the feedback?
No, there isn't a glut of individuals to choose from. Numbers we heard were 112 openings and 43 names available, but that changes practically weekly. Pastors decide to put their name in for a call, and all of a sudden there's another name. So, we're hopeful that we'll get another one shortly, and we will look them over closely. But at this point, we're not going to go into a panic and just grab somebody. We feel we're taken care of, and we have good preachers available to us every Sunday, and we'll wait for the right one to come along, because they will come along.
Thank you.
Dale?
There's nothing in the budget for a youth director.
Yeah, I can't really speak to that. Maybe Marit can.
I guess to my knowledge, when the finance committee was making the budget for 2022, there's no discussion of a youth director coming, so we did not budget for one.
Are they looking for one?
Not that I know of, no, not actively, no. And I'm not sure what Zion's doing or where I'm assuming with the exit of Madison that's done, so I'm assuming that's a big assumption. But there's been no discussion that I have heard.
I think the discussions that the council has had, we're kind of focusing on a pastor first, trying to get that position filled, and then focus again on a youth director. We certainly would like to have one. We'd like to have one full-time. Part-time youth director is really difficult. That's why we had to split it with Zion this last time. Was that a perfect deal? Nope, wasn't. So, and we don't know that we're going to be able to afford a full-time youth director. That's something that the congregation in general has to maybe meet. It may not be a council decision. We may have to have a general congregational vote or meeting, or however to see if we can put together that part of the budget to afford a full-time youth director. We certainly could use one. Pauline?
I'm not sure where I read it, since I go to Silver Creek sometimes to Mark and Zion, Mark. Since I'm kind of reading the bulletins for all the churches involved, somewhere I read that they wanted to reassess duties and things about whether or not we want to share one. So I think that's where we're at, that, like I say, because I go to Silver Creek and Zion both, I'm not sure whose bulletin I read this in, or whose newsletter, but there was something mentioned about reassessing duties, needs, hours, etc., that needed to be taken care of.
youth director or of a?
Of the youth director.
There was also some discussion to involve Trinity as well. They do have a youth person, but it's, we don't want everything to fall on that person if we decide to all three work together. And Madison also suggested that maybe there would have to be more than one person if there were several duties to share, perhaps somebody taking elementary, somebody taking middle school, somebody taking high school, and those kinds of ideas. As it was set up, that it was way too much for part-time.
Has there been any consideration of an interim pastor? I know that we're covered for pulpit. I understand we're covered for pulpit supply, but from my experience, there's more to the pastoral responsibilities than preaching on Sunday morning. And I don't think we have that now, and I wonder what the prospect of that might be.
Call committee has discussed that as well. At the last meeting, we kind of tabled that, and we're going to start discussing that again at our next meeting. There aren't a lot of them either.
At the next council meeting, not our call.
Yeah. The next council meeting.
I agree with you, Pastor John, that no, pulpit supply doesn't meet the needs of the people, and that, if there were interims to be had, that might be something to consider. Other congregational concerns?
There have been none in the chat that have been raised, so.
Okay, are we ready for new business? Constitution.
I can speak to that just a little bit. When we first started talking about redoing the Constitution, it was our stewardship committee that started it, and then it was David Ulrich and I that continued, and then I was in contact with the Synod, and at that time Carl Mickelson put me in contact with a pastor who was extremely passionate about constitutions, and proved to be very, very helpful. And so what we came up with is a combination of all of our efforts. And if you have a sheet there where we talked about the constitutional changes, at the top we put kind of an explanation of how to read the Constitution, because maybe it was just me, but I always had trouble with that. And then it talks about the bylaws and continuing resolutions. Our present constitutions has that at the very end of the Constitution, and we were told that it just needs to be incorporated into the section where it talks about in the Constitution. So I know our annual meeting notification was moved to the right spot for that, and same with mission endowment. So they don't want them just tagged at the end, they want them to be flowing with the regular Constitution. And in the endowment fund, paragraph A and paragraph F were edited to bring the fund into compliance. I talked with some people who were original members of that committee to get some help on that one. We added 2 new things because our old Constitution said that we had them, or that there were officer duties, and that there were and they weren't in there, so we came up with some duties. That is probably not a complete list. It is these things plus other things, and same with I thought there was another one. Oh, our committees. Our committee, chapter 13 has our committee what I used for that was our committees all have a committee policy, and we have a mission statement. So those mission statements were used as our committee, what we had to put down for the committees. And the continuing resolutions can be changed at any time by the council. There does not have to be a congregational meeting. And we really wanted to keep it that way for the officers and the committees, because to me, they are always a work in progress. And in fact, just this last year, we combined our Faith Family Fellowship and Stewardship into one committee. So those things will from time to time change. The one that you will want to look at, and please bring up concerns you might have with that, is Chapter 12, the Congregational Council. And this is, I don't know, maybe not a good statement about us as a church, but suggested wording change in the required number of council members elected to serve. The nominating committees are really having a difficult time of finding members that are willing to serve on the church council. And so the suggestion was that it read, the voting membership of the Congregational Council shall consist of the pastor and not more than 12 nor fewer than 9 members of this congregation. And then we put in brackets, which means kind of we will try as hard as we can. It is strongly advised that at least one of these shall be between the ages of 17 and 32. Presently, our Constitution says not more than 18 and not fewer than 12. And then there was a line in there about a youth person as well. Any questions or concerns that you have about the rewording? Oh, there are a few copies left on the back table if you have not been able to look at one. I made the decision, told Vanessa not to make a whole bunch of copies, because if, with the word draft on, because if it wasn't approved, then we're throwing away all that paper. So please look at it. But the other things that have an asterisk, I know under the rostered minister, there was a whole section added about churches hiring a deacon. And I am not real familiar with the hiring of deacon, but they are considered rostered. If you're familiar with the SAMs, the synodical authorized ministers, churches can use those as well, but they are not rostered. So, but that whole section was added, and that had an asterisk from the ELCA, so we have to put that in, and we are not allowed to make any changes. And there are just a few typos in the old one that, the thought to this, and so on and so forth. And I think this next year is a year for a national conference again. It's either this year or this year? Okay. Okay. So that means that there will be another constitutional change after that. But now that we have our ducks in a row with pieces that we were missing, mainly about our committees and our officers, and moving the two things that I guess after I thought about it did make a lot of sense, we shouldn't have to do anything with that, and we should be able to just approve it at next year's meeting, because it should be, again, more wording changes. I mean, this year they changed all this church to the church, or maybe it was opposite. I mean, just things like that, so.
Any questions?
Just as a point of information, I was elected as an alternate from the synod as a delegate to the national, to the church-wide convention this summer. I could find out up to a day beforehand that I have to go, but I was elected as an alternate. To clarify on deacons, deacons are not just those rostered ministers who are able to preach. They can include music ministers as well, those who have masters of church music degrees. The ELCA a few years ago combined all of their different rostered ministers that were not ordained ministers of word and sacrament under the single title of deacon.
Any questions? Yes.
If I look on page 4, paragraph C, 4.05, it states the congregation shall adopt and periodically review a mission statement which will provide specific direction for its programs. Is our mission statement under revision or discussion at all? Because I see variations in wording. And just like clarification.
I have not heard anything about the mission statement being reviewed. I will tell you this, I think we're one of the few churches that has a mission statement, which doesn't mean that we shouldn't look at it and review it from time to time. What article did you find that under?
Page 4, C 4.05. States to periodically review a mission statement.
And we probably should do that. It has not been done since the Sylvesters were here.
Where it was originated, I believe. And my question again is, if we are reviewing it or discussing options for specific wording, I'd like to see one determination on clarification going forward.
Maybe we can talk about that at the retreat.
Any more questions for Jan Anderson? Are you ready to vote concerning adopting the, do I have a motion to adopt the changes? Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, 2022 budget.
Okay, this starts on page 29 and goes through 34. And really the only difference, big difference in the budget is no youth director, which Dale pointed out, and then the pastor. I want to thank the finance committee for working with me and putting up with me all year long. David, Gary, Jan, myself. And working with getting this budget put together with me in a year of unknowns with the youth director and with the pastor, not knowing when we'd get a pastor, how much pulpit supply we'll need. So it's kind of a crapshoot. So the revenues are on that first page, and if you want to flip the page to me to page 30. And the committee explains the supply pastors,
In some versions of the report, that's page 31. Some versions of the report, the budget starts on 30 and goes to 35.
Do I have the old one? Sorry. Okay. Thanks, Reed. Supply pastors, we're hoping maybe we'll just split the year in half. Maybe we'll have a pastor by June. So we did a half year of pulpit supply, half a year of pastor salary. And the pastor salaries on the following page, what we did was we took the Synod guidelines, took a smack dab, I think 20 years is the middle of their own experience, took that salary and cut it in half for half a year. That's the best we could figure as far as where we'll find somebody. So that was how we budgeted for it. But if we find a pastor sooner, obviously the pastor's salary will be higher, pulpit supply will be less. Those two items will wash each other out throughout the year as far as total cost goes. Otherwise, that's all the highlights I have for the budget. Does anybody see anything that jumps out at them?
Marit, what about the recommendation concerning pathways and also
The Synod?
yes.
I'll be back on your first page, the first page 30, is that the first page? In the mission support expenses, what we did was we took pathways down, the benevolence to pathways down to 1,500, so half of what it was, and we took that and we put that into the Synod benevolence, so we bumped that from 15,000 to 16,500, and pathways went from 3 to 1,500. Any comments or concerns regarding that? Thoughts, questions, anxieties, fears? Yes, ma'am. Oh, I can do that. We're page 31. About 3/4 of the way down the page. Before, in previous years, we just had a church maintenance and repairs line and supplies, Mike's supplies, light bulbs, anything that the property committee would need and anything Mike would need was all in that one account. And property asked to kind of have their own line for just their maintenance projects and repair projects that come up for them throughout the year. So what I did was we took the budget for that, it was previously I think 7,000, and split that in half. Half goes for supplies for Mike specifically and the janitorial supplies, and then half went to property committee for their repairs or other projects that come up for them throughout the year, and then just the random stuff that they're not planning, and then they have about, what did they say, about $2,000 to $3,000, about $3,000 of projects that they know they want to complete in 2022. So I took their base budget of $3,500 and added that $3,000 to it for those specific projects. I think it's caulking of windows, and they have a couple other things that they know they want to get done in 2022. And then the $3,500 base is just for life. Next thing, I think we're having more boiler trouble right now, or pumps or something, so that's for life that happens. So that's a little bit of a difference between last year and this year, as far as the way it looks. Does that make sense to everybody? Anybody have questions on that? Comments?
Recognizing that people online will need time to vote on everything, I just pushed out the online ballot for candidates, constitution, and budget, so those watching the stream can start submitting votes.
Any questions concerning 2022 budget? The budget has been presented, and you have it there before you. Do I have a motion to adopt the presented budget for 2022?
I make so motion.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. There is the report of elections ready. Waiting, okay.
We'll need about 5 more minutes for people online to vote.
Reed, this is Chris Cuppet. Would it be possible for you to include ballots for Terry and me? You know, can that be done online along with the other ballots that are going out to people that are...
I'll do you better.
Better live
Come up here
streaming.
with a paper one.
Oh, okay.
If, as we're waiting, I may comment from the staff side of things, Madam President. One thing that is markedly different this time around as we are in the transition to a new pastor is that we have all of our staff intact. If you recall, the last time, not only were we without a pastor, but we had a secretarial transition. We had what I sometimes had to jokingly call the pastor du jour, a different supply pastor every week that would come in and it's Sunday morning, 1 hour before the service, and can we do this? Nope, it's in the bulletin. Can we sing this hymn? Nope, Chris has everything already. Can we do this? Nope. Where this time we are, at least as far as staffing goes, in a far better position because Vanessa has been here now 5 years and continues to keep the office running smoothly. We have, for at least January and February, and depending on what council's discussion comes up at their next meeting is regarding interims, we have Terry as a consistent supply pastor who we know, and she knows how we work, we know how she works, and that does make this transition far less potentially angst producing as the last one did. That's my perspective from the staff, and I think that is agreed by just about everyone else who is on staff. So those are my comments here as we wait for the online ballots to continue coming in. We'll give it another 2 minutes here.
Reed?
Yes.
We need to update the paper information.
We'll talk. Yes.
I have,
Oh, okay.
many times. I've called them, I have emailed them. I tried my very best to get them to change that, but obviously it hasn't been done
Yeah.
yet.
'Cause it's-
So, I think my next step is I have to physically go there and harass them and make sure that they do change it.
And I know they have been down a bit on staff just because of the nature of the paper and the pandemic and all of that. I know I've had issues with some other groups in terms of things being printed properly despite submitting changes. So I think between the two of us we can tag team and work on that if need be.
As long as we're killing time here. Page 4, what is the net loss or gain on our membership?
I'm not sure I know how to answer that, but as far as like our confirmation students are now technically new members of the church. And I mean, you can see that we had 3 new members join Redeemer and 3 leave. But that always changes, and I guess I don't know what else to say about that.
Perhaps a follow-up to that is, what do we have the number of baptized and confirmed members that we would submit to the ELCA for our annual report update with them?
Yep, we would, the ones on the report would be the ones that we report to the Senate.
So do we have the count? No, like, we have this many baptized members, we have this many confirmed members.
Right.
I think that those are the numbers that you're looking for, Dale, right? Number of baptized members, number of confirmed members, that's what you're looking at. Yeah, so that would be something to report out. The online ballots are all in, I'll say.
Do we have a report of election?
So the ballots were all, pretty much everything unanimous or one off of unanimous? Do you want numbers for each person, or do you want just everything was unanimous or almost unanimous? For each category, every person, do you need a number for each person reported, or like number of votes for each?
I feel so. We just need to know if they were elected.
Yes. The entire ballot was elected.
Do you have a count of the number of ballots?
50.
Sorry?
50,
50?
yes. 50. Including the online ballots. Yeah, everyone was counted on.
That's good. I just want to say thanks to Vanessa for getting all this paper and paper and paper and paper, and then getting all the information to me so I could braille it. I just want to say thanks. Okay. I can declare the meeting adjourned, and we will close with the Lord's Prayer. Remember that, and then we will also have, the table prayer as well, so folks can eat. Let's close with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
The words to table grace are in your bulletin.
Thank you, everybody.
It's my cane. That's his cane.